going to Mount Vernon, given that no one else could illustrate, as well as George Washington, the strength of the commitment and the bonds between our two countries. Mr. President, please allow me to go back to a number of issues which are fundamental for not only our relationship but beyond. The first topic is Iran. You said, once again in front of the press, what your position was during the campaign, and as well as the President of the United States. It's not a mystery. We did not have the same starting positions, stances, and neither you nor I have a habit of changing our stances or going with the wind. That being said, I can say that we've had a very frank discussion on that, just the two of us. You consider that the Iranian deal, the JCPOA, the one negotiated in 2015 with Iran, is a bad deal. For a number of months, I've been saying that this was not a sufficient deal, but that it enabled us, at least until 2025, to have some control over their nuclear activities. We therefore wish from now on to work on a new deal with Iran. What we need, and I believe that on that, our discussions allowed us to shed light on our convergence of views, is that we need to cover 4 topics. The first one is to block any nuclear activity of Iran till 2025. This was feasible thanks to the JCPOA. The second is to make sure that in the long run there is no nuclear Iranian activity. The third fundamental topic is to be able to put an end to the ballistical activities of Iran in the region. And the fourth one is to generate the conditions for a solution, a political solution to contain Iran in the region, in Yemen, in Syria, in Iraq, and in Lebanon. On these topics, I did not change. I constantly said that we needed to find the framework so that together and with the powers of the region and with the Iranian leaders managed to find a deal. I therefore would like us to commit to that effect in the weeks and months to come. This is the only way to bring about stability. France is not naive when it comes to Iran. We have also a lot of respect for the Iranian people, which through their history, its history has always shown its strength. But we do not to repeat the mistakes of the past. Each time we tried to unilaterally replace the sovereignty of a people, we've brought about some more terror. But for our allies, we want sustainable stability. And I believe that the discussions we've had together make it possible to open the way, to pave the way for a new agreement, an agreement on which we will work. And beyond our European partners, we would like to involve the regional powers. And of course, Russia and Turkey. It is also within this framework, as a matter of fact, that together, in the long run, we can find a solution to the Syrian situation. In Syria, we are together engaged within the international coalition against Daesh and the terrorists, and we will continue to act till the end within this framework until victory. That being said, in the long run, we need to win peace and make sure that Syria does not fall into any hegemony in the region. So to that effect, the approach which is agreed means that we can work on all of the situation, the whole of the situation in the region. And with these efforts to contain Iran in the region, we will continue to work to that effect within the UN Security Council to make sure that humanitarian law, the prohibition of chemical weapons are fully complied with, and we will continue to shoulder our responsibilities to that effect. But we will also work with our partners in building a sustainable political solution, an inclusive one that will prevent any hegemony, and once again will prevent feeding terrorism in the future. We also talked about climate, and here also we know where we stand. France will continue to work on major pieces, including the Global Compact for the environment. But I think I can say that our economic, our businesses, our researchers can continue to work on concrete solutions in the field, and we are both attached to that. Now on trade, like you mentioned it, and I hear what you said when you call upon fair and equitable trade. When we look at international trade today, we have some common challenges. There are some overcapacities in a number of sectors which are well known, and we shall work together to make sure that this does not destabilize our markets or brings about some unfair competition. But I believe we can say that we are both attached to make sure that between allies there is compliance with international trade law. At least France is attached to that. We have our preferences. There are situations we can probably improve. But I believe that both you and I are also attached, want to make sure that our businesses, our companies can operate in a long, a sustainable and stable framework. Mr. President, I meant to mention these few points which you commented as well. And allow me to say once again that the discussions we've had today, the ones we will have tomorrow, are fed not only by the strength of our historical bonds, but also by a sincere friendship, which I believe we share. So thank you once again, Mr. President, Madam, for this extremely warm welcome, for these 3 days spent with you. And thank you as well for being there to meet the challenges which are important for the United States of America, for France, and for Europe, and important for our peoples. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like him a lot. First of all, I want to thank our Vice President and Karen for being here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now we had a wonderful conference today, and I think especially the one-on-one in the Oval Office, we covered a lot of territory having to do with trade, having to do with Iran, and various other subjects. So I think a lot of good things are going to come out of our meeting, and I appreciate you being here. And we'll take a couple of questions. How about Jeff Mason from Reuters? Jeff? Yeah,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Mr. President.
Hi,
Hi there. After your discussions today with President Macron, what is your thinking about a timeline for bringing U.S. troops out of Syria? And on one other topic, you mentioned today that you thought the leader of North Korea has behaved openly and honorably. This is someone who many people have accused of starving his people, killing family members. What did you mean when you called him that?
Well, we will start with your second part of the question, and I hope that we will be able to deal in a very open and honorable fashion with North Korea. I started a process, and when I did, everybody thought I was doing it absolutely wrong. But in the meantime, for 25 years, people have been dealing and nothing happened. And a lot's happening right now. I can tell you that, Jeff. A lot is happening. And I think it's going to be very positive. And I hope it's going to be very positive for North Korea and for South Korea and Japan and the rest of the world. But I am starting at a level that, frankly, I shouldn't have had to start. This should have been worked out a long time ago. This should have been worked out many years ago. We were discussing that. We shouldn't be having this situation happen to the United States and the world. This should have been resolved by other presidents and by other leaders of other countries a long time ago. With that being said, I think we're doing very well. Meetings are being set up, and I want to see denuclearization of North Korea. A lot of concessions have already been made. We have made no concessions, despite some of the media saying that I've made concessions. I haven't even discussed a concession, other than the fact that meeting is a great thing. And I'm sure that A lot of other people would have liked to have had the position we're having. I will say this, we put the strongest sanctions on a country that we ever have put on any country by far. China, President Xi has been very strong in helping us to solve this problem, in his case at the border. He's allowing very little to get through. I think he's doing that for a number of reasons. We have a very good relationship, and also it's very important in terms of trade, because I do play the trade card. If you look at what's happening with trade in China, it hasn't been fair for many, many years to the United States, and we're going to solve that problem. In fact, we're having Secretary Mnuchin and a couple of other folks heading over to, Bob Lighthizer, heading over to China at the request of China. They came here, as you know, last week, and we're having very substantive discussions on trade. But I think it all plays to the border and the fact that they have been extremely strong on the border, and very little has gotten through, much to the surprise of a lot of people. And I believe the trade will work out, but I also think that China has never treated us with more respect than they have over the last short period of time that I'm president. I have a very excellent, as you know, relationship with President Xi, and I think that relationship is very important as to what's happening with North Korea. So the end result is we'll see. Maybe good things will happen, and maybe we're all wasting a lot of time, but hopefully it'll be good for everybody concerned. As far as Syria is concerned, I would love to get out. I'd love to bring our incredible warriors back home. They've done a great job. We've essentially just absolutely obliterated ISIS in Iraq and in Syria. And we've done a big favor to neighboring countries, frankly, but we've also done a favor for our country. With that being said, Emmanuel and myself have discussed the fact that we don't want to give Iran open season to the Mediterranean, especially since we really control it to a large extent. We really have controlled it, and we've set control on it. So we'll see what happens, but we're going to be coming home relatively soon. We've finished at least almost our work with respect to ISIS in Syria, ISIS in Iraq, and we have done a job that nobody has been able to do. But with that being said, I do want to come home, but I want to come home also with having accomplished what we have to accomplish. So we are discussing Syria as part of an overall deal. When they made the Iran deal, what they should have done is included Syria. When I say should have, before giving them Iran $150 billion and $1.8 billion in cash, $1.8 million in cash. If you think about this, before giving this kind of tremendous money, okay, $150 billion and $1.8 billion in cash, in barrels, I hear it was taken out, and in boxes it was taken out, cash. They should have made a deal that covered Yemen, that covered Syria, that covered other parts of the Middle East where Iraq is involved, where Iran is involved. They didn't do that. So we want to come home. We'll be coming home, but we want to have